All right, I think we're live. Hello, pleasure seekers. Welcome to my virtual cave. Today I have a sunflower joining me and someone else super, super special who I can't wait to introduce to you. So here I tend to chat and sometimes have tea with fabulous female thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and just overall badass chicks. And in my years of working with women, both in my coaching practice and in my movement classes, I've really come to realize the vast importance of pleasure as a form of medicine. And so in these sessions, we come together to explore the role of pleasure in different aspects of our lives as women. And today, I have with me Allison Braun, also known as the Business Joyologist. Hello, Allison. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yay. So Allison, who's also known as the Business Joyologist, is a business coach and strategist that helps women get what they want by being who they are and doing what they love with joy. She's been making waves in the entrepreneurial community, has been really busting myths that you have to be someone that you aren't and that you have to really work hard. I'm sure we've all been there, work hard to be successful, and has worked with hundreds of women all over the world. And when she's not helping freedom and purpose-driven healers and helpers discover and express their gifts in a thriving business they love. You can find her swimming in the ocean, which she's been doing a lot lately because she's in Mexico right now, joining us from there, drinking espresso and playing with crystals. So welcome again, Allison.
Well, thank you. Yes, I've been getting my daily swims in, which is definitely up in the pleasure capacity over here.
Awesome. God, I miss water, so I'm super jealous. Excited to get to somewhere with water. So tell us, Allison, a little bit about sort of your journey to where you are now, which is basically in Mexico, being able to live this ideal life of both being, spending a few hours in the ocean and then getting back on your laptop and helping serve all these amazing women out there who are trying to start a business.
Yeah. I started out making like $9 an hour working in health food stores and education-focused sex shops in my hometown, and really sharing my natural gifts, which is holding space for people to really unfold into being their fully self-expressed, beings, and really connecting to their purpose. However, as I'm sure many of you have experienced, if you're working in like a retail store, it's a little hard to be fully appreciated and acknowledged for your gifts in all capacities, and there's a lot of limitations to that, and also another big piece is you only get 2 weeks of vacation a year, if that. So that was a big no-no for me. I love to travel. I'm from the Canadian prairies where there isn't ocean, and so it was really important for me to be in a position where I could really share my gifts and also travel as much or as little as I wanted to, where I wanted to, while still, being able to serve in whatever way felt good to me at the moment. And so that really started my journey of finding how I could do that. I knew it was possible, I just had no idea how. And so that really got me started on my journey of taking my life coaching certification, hiring a coach, joining a mastermind, and my own personal journey of self-discovery and what I was going to be best at. Because I had a lot of gifts and skills, and I'm sure many of you can relate to having, a lot of things that you're interested in, but not really feeling really clear on how to make it all come together and work. And so as I got clear on that, that really allowed me to start building my business in a way that supported everything that was important to me. So instead of kind of creating it in a way that, you know, what I had to do to be successful, I got really clear on what I wanted my lifestyle to look at like, and I built my business backwards from there, which has
Mm.
allowed me to live in this super cute little place in Mexico in the winter instead of being in Canada.
Awesome. It's amazing. It's very courageous to be working backwards. But I think it's a really, really successful strategy. I've noticed that the women who do that, who work backwards from an ideal schedule, backwards from a number that feels like financial freedom, that really helps solidify what it is that they're going for, and somehow it makes it a lot easier to achieve. So did you find that that was the case for you? Or is that the case for maybe some of the clients you work with?
Yeah, I find maybe it's not necessarily easier, but I find that it happens with a lot more ease and flow, and in like ways that are kind of surprising, ways that you wouldn't normally expect, because when you're clear on what you want and how you want to feel, things just start to kind of fall into alignment, and we don't have to push so hard, because it's when we're out of alignment and going for things that we don't really want that we start feeling like off, and it does feel like a push, totally not pleasurable. So I found for myself and I find for my clients that once they get really clear on who they are and what they want, that it does flow with a lot more ease, and it happens a lot faster actually than what we would normally expect. So when I started doing things that way, within a year I was able to replace my income, make a lot more than what I was making working 40 hours a week, and quit my job.
Awesome. Wow. Well, that's such an inspiration. So awesome. Good stuff. So what people don't know, the ladies who are watching may not necessarily know that before business coaching, you were actually a sex coach. So I'm curious to hear a little bit about your transition, and also what it is that you took from the pleasure aspect of the sex coaching into the business coaching.
Yeah. So the common thread throughout all my work has, which I didn't realize earlier on, but it's really come into that piece around self-expression.
Mm.
And so when I was doing sex coaching and sexual expression coaching, I was noticing that a lot of what I was doing had to relate with being ourselves and really feeling safe and confident to express who we are. And for a lot of women, as I'm sure you know, Nadia, is related to closing down or suppressing our sexuality, because there's so many taboos and just stuff around that. And so for a lot of women, it's that area, consciously or subconsciously, that gets kind of pushed down a little bit or conformed to how we should be showing up. And that's really what was preventing women to really be connected to their purpose. So even though that wasn't really my intention in that work, I noticed that a lot of women got very connected to what their purpose was when they were connecting to that place. And I love talking about business, so it was really natural for me to see that a lot of the women that were coming to me, eventually like 90% of them were asking for help in finding their purpose and getting their business started, because that just kind of organically happened as our work evolved. So it was a really organic transition. I didn't even put it out there. It just started happening. And then once all my clients kind of switched over, I publicly made the switch. But it's definitely that piece around sexual energy, full self-expression, that has come through in all of that work.
Awesome. Yeah, as you were describing this, I was thinking about what kept coming up for me was this idea of like being turned on to life, and that's going to be the same whether you're talking about your sexual libido or you're talking about your business libido. And so I can see how much there's a connection. And I also feel like pleasure is really the gateway into that turn on. So if you can start to find the pleasure in your sex life, in your whether it be with yourself or with a partner, with many partners, yay. If you can find what really works for you and what makes it pleasurable for you, it results in overall turn on. And turn on in the bedroom will then result in turn on in everything else, and will help you just flow from a place of creativity, from that second chakra place that is creativity, that is sexuality, all bundled up together, and then just feel like you are functioning at a place where everything just feels awesome. And so of course business is going to flow better. Of course it's going to, your health is going to just, you're naturally going to feel more embodied and vibrant and healthy. You're naturally going to feel sexier in bed. So I love that. Yeah, it's really, really cool. Did you?
Yeah, it's kind of like this infinity sign.
Yeah.
Where like one affects the other and the other, they like just kind of weave back and forth.
Yeah. So I know you touched upon feeling not turned on in the day job that you had, and just sort of not living your purpose. I'm wondering if there was if you felt that way in everything else in your life at that time, and if there was a specific practice or moment where you where you had that like light bulb moment of, oh my God, I need to be turned on to like flow.
Yeah, absolutely. I can say that really up until recently, like as I got really clear on what my purpose was, there's an aspect of me that just felt, totally not turned on. Like I was really unclear of, what I was good at, who I really was. I was really trying to please others and do what I should do versus what I really wanted to do. And at that point, I didn't even know, because I had been trying to please others for so long. And so there was definitely not a lot of pleasure. There was a lot of suppression and lack of confidence that was happening. And what really allowed me to fully step into pleasure and purpose was having a safe space to be myself. It was being around women that were comfortable talking about sex, who were playful with it, and just kind of gave me that space to be like, oh, like I can joke around and have fun with this and be myself. And through that journey, which evolved over time, that's really what allowed me to feel more safe and confident to be myself, and therefore safe and confident to be turned on, and to really tune into what pleasure looked like for me.
It's so interesting. So safety being a key feeling and state in order to be able to feel okay to pursue the pleasure and just the freedom of going out and trying shit.
Yeah, basically. It's almost like permission, because at that time I wasn't super involved in the online world, and therefore wouldn't have found people like you who are sharing this message of like, get tuned in to what turns you on, to your pleasure, take care of yourself. And so I didn't feel like I had that permission. And when I did, that's when the good stuff started happening.
Yeah, love it. Nice. So I want to go back a little bit to something that I mentioned as I was introducing you, where this idea of like working hard and feeling like this no pain, no gain, like feeling like you just got to suffer through and push through as you build your business or just push towards whatever goal it is that you're going for. So this comes up a lot. I feel like for people, they're like, oh, business and pleasure, they're two categories in my life, but they're not necessarily connected. And so much of what you do is about injecting pleasure into your business and into your client's business. So what would you say in the years that you have worked with the women, what has been sort of the biggest challenge for them, and what do you find works really well to battle that challenge?
The most common thing that I see over and over and over again that I've experienced, my clients experience, and even after you feel like you're like, oh yes, I'm on the other side, like smooth sailing ahead, the stuff that keeps coming up even after that point is really ego and what we think we should be doing because society says that that's the norm. You should be grinding, you should be like hustling. And while there's nothing wrong with hustling per se or like, working hard, there's a difference between pushing for something that you feel like you should have or want and being compelled and like almost pulled towards something that you feel like you're meant to be doing and that feels so good to you that it doesn't feel hard. So I guess there's a difference between it being hard and it working hard, but it feeling pleasurable and joyful, or at least so aligned that it doesn't feel like work. So the piece that kind of pulls you towards that, like it feeling hard, is usually just our thoughts, like our mind saying like, oh, I want to go swimming, but I have like all these things to do, so I better just like sit down and get them all done. And as you do that, you're not really in the flow, you're pushing. And if you go for that swim, even if it's just for 30 minutes and you come back, you're relaxed, you're in tune, you've taken that time to be in your body so that you can come from that place of being pulled and drawn towards what you're meant to be sharing. And then it happens so much like smoother, easier, and faster. So actually taking that time for pleasure is like one of the most productive things that you can do.
It's so true, and that's a difficult one because we definitely I feel like we've all grown up with this belief that's ingrained in us, like you got to work really hard to get the A at school, you got to sit down and do all your homework, you need to just push, work hard, suffer, and then you will achieve. And it nearly feels like cheating when you're like, no, I think I'm going to go swimming, and that's actually going to be a good thing. And so sometimes it can be really difficult to come to peace with that voice in your head that's like, no, you have 30 minutes, do this newsletter, or do whatever it is that you have a deadline for today. It's interesting because I actually just yesterday went and saw my Rolfer. For those of you who don't know, it's like a type of massage, and I always get such an emotional release when I get rolfing done. And I had a back spasm the week before, and was really pushing. I was going through a phase where I did have a lot of deadlines. I was pushing a little bit harder than I usually did. And I felt like, oh, do I really need to go to this rolfing session? Maybe not. I don't know. Like trying to convince myself to get out of it because I had so many other things to do. But then the second I went and I got back, I had an amazing release. Suddenly everything in my life just flowed a lot more. I felt more connected to my partner again after I hadn't in about a week, like I was just feeling a little off. I felt more connected to my work. I got 3 new ideas that feel super inspiring to me. I woke up after a good night's sleep. I have a lot more energy. I'm so excited to be interviewing you today. So it's little things like that. So it could be a swim in the ocean. It could be a trip to your masseuse. It could be an hour to go dancing. Be whatever the hell you want it to be, but it's amazing how much that then helps you. Let's use the analogy of swimming. Actually, it helps you be swimming. It helps you swim with the tide instead of against it. So suddenly you're like, oh, this is my flow. I'm not trying to push in the other direction towards someone else's goal. I'm actually just here doing my thing because this feels really good.
Yeah, totally. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that because oftentimes there's a lot of resistance and like excuses that come up that will prevent us from, or could prevent us from doing the exact thing that's going to allow for that flow to happen.
Yeah, true. And so when this comes up for you with your clients, do you find that what is the best thing for them? Is it like scheduling more self-care into their calendar? Is there a specific Should they do like some breathing exercises? Like, what is it that that seems to work really well for women when they are a little bit anxious about taking time to actually enjoy themselves?
Yeah, well, just so you guys know, I'm like burning up here. The sun's on me, so if you see me shifting, I'm like, Mexican heat over here. Um,
At least it's not Canadian cold, right?
True that, true that. I think the first part is really identifying what type of person you are. I find that there's two sides of the scale. Um, One part, which I feel like, I don't know, it could go both ways in your community, but one piece is where you're like kind of more of the hedonist or hedonist, like I am, where it's like pleasure is more of our natural tendency, and so we almost avoid doing work, and it's actually often doing that work, the deep work and the purpose type things that are going to fulfill us on an even deeper level of purpose and pleasure. And then there's the other side of the scale where you're like overachiever, work, 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 and you avoid pleasure altogether. So once you kind of know what side of the scale you're on, you can look at what type of action you need to be taking that's going to take you to a deeper level of pleasure. And for those that are more on the like work, work, work side of things, sometimes it takes like a little bit of transitioning. So if I were to say like, oh, go take like 2 hours off and go hang out with girlfriends or go for a swim, and they've got like this to-do list that's a page long, there's going to be so much resistance there that it may not happen. But if I say, okay, like take a couple minutes to clear off your desk and put like some of your favorite things in your space, put on some of your favorite music while you're working so that your work experience is more pleasurable, that's like a good step. For those on the other side of things, it could be the same action, because then they're feeling more drawn to have a beautiful space to get their work done, you know, with fresh flowers or things like that that will make it more pleasurable to do the work. So that's a really good kind of action step, is just start transitioning into actually making your physical work more pleasurable and beautiful. And then from there you can transition into like scheduling in pleasure breaks, whether they're 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, or 2 hours, whatever you need to break up the day and making sure you're staying in that place of flow.
I love it. I love it. It reminds me of what I tell my clients when they need to drink more water, which is like just sneak in, like just start off with, you know, 1 more glass a day. Like don't go from, if you're someone who drinks 3 glasses and you want to suddenly, you know, work your way to you want to be drinking 3 liters of water, do not suddenly start to try to drink 3 liters of water, because what happens is you start to trick your body. The second you start to drink more water, your body will naturally be like, oh wait, we're not in a desert, okay, I'm going to ask for more. And I feel like it's the same thing with pleasure. It's like so many of us are pleasure deprived, and so the second we start to inject little things here and there, so something as simple as putting on our favorite music while we work, while we do that spreadsheet, you know, putting on a scented candle, doing whatever it is that makes us feel good, we're going to actually start our body is going to demand more of that, like more pleasure, please, more pleasure, and then you work your way up to 3 liters of pleasure a day. Or if you're someone who is already at 3 liters and needs to like chill out, but in that case it's alcohol, then you work your way down, you know, like. So I think it's a really interesting way of looking at it, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
sometimes pleasure isn't eating 3 pieces of cake, Allison.
Well, it depends. Beautiful. I love it. So much great wisdom. Thank you so much. So tell the ladies where they can find you, and if there's any resources maybe on your site or somewhere that they should check out that will help them in their journey in injecting, you know, a little bit more pleasure into their business life and just their life in general.
You can easily find me on my website, which is just allisonbraun.com or thebusinessjoyologist.com. And on the bottom of the homepage, you'll notice that there's some circles, and one of them particularly says pleasure and purpose. So that will link you to some blog posts that relate to increasing your capacity for pleasure and how to link them up with your purpose. I also love meeting people on Facebook, so you can find me there as well just by Googling Allison Braun, the Business Joyologist, and please do say hello there.
You guys really should. I'm telling you, I've worked with Allison myself. It's like, I can't even, like, life raft. What do I call you? A business life raft. I was in a place where everything felt like one big gray cloud, and she's the clarity queen. I mean, she really just gets you to what it is that you want to do. So definitely check her out, check out her work, say hi to her, say more than hi to her, whatever you want. Thank you so much for being with us today. I appreciate your time. I appreciate what you do. Keep on rocking it. Yeah.
Thank you, Nadia. Thanks for doing what you do.
My pleasure. All right, ladies, take care. Till next time. Bye.